Wow. And there's a lot of teams.
You deserve that.
Yeah.
You deserve that. You can't be doing that. That's not allowed.
Oh, you try to get away with things, but at this stage, very hard to get away with some shenanigans right there. Next circle does come out. Oh, a lot of high ground on that south side. This is going to get very tricky. Enigma Galaxy in a great spot to get center zone if they do so to go for it. Nongshim Red Force also with great rotations, pretty much close to center, and Hyper as well. So, and it's not, by luck that the teams that are rotational focused find center zones. This is like maybe 3 times in a row where we see Nongshim and Hyper and Enigma Galaxy in great positions on the map. So definitely getting those rotational priorities, very rotational focused, is going to reward them.
I don't think for Enigma Galaxy, I don't think I'd go directly center. I think maintaining control in the south side as they maintain control on the eastern side, or tried to rather, back on, I think it was the second Erangel of the day, or was it the first Erangel of the day?
First
yes,
Erangel.
it was the first Erangel of the day, where we finished in the 1v1. Controlling one side of the circle, I think, almost has more value than having the middle of it in these earlier stages, certainly. So
Yes.
Stage 2 of Miramar, the largest shrink in terms of circle percentage we see in competitive PUBG Mobile. So making sure that they have got a strong foothold when all of these teams are going to be looking for pretty wild rotates and pretty fast maneuvers, I think is going to have more value in the long run.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that, especially on Miramar, right? Being center zone, if it goes away from you, it's circle 2. It could go anywhere still. And if it goes away from you, all of a sudden, you're just surrounded by teams. Hard to rotate on the high ground, with all the hills. You don't want to just find yourself sandwiched in there. Of course, it does just depend pretty much on where the circle goes. If it centers up, it could be the complete opposite story. Duxin coming in on that northern edge now, coming into the city. A couple of teams taking positions in the city, and right further south is that high ground mountain, which is even more difficult to rotate down south into.
Chumacera starting to become very populated, but everybody looking to be up in the mountains. Duxan holding on to their corner of it. They are right on the edge of the next zone. Hale a little bit more centralized, but they're still on a little bit of a split as well. Controlling a lot of ground on the north side of these hills, close to Chumacera. Not too many teams super close by, and I don't think that Hale will go for a direct push onto this one. Not for the time being.
It is only circle 2. Teams are just positioning to see where the next zone goes. They do have some battle plans in mind, should it be a hard shift away from them, I'm sure. But everyone just coming in here, and ooh, things are going to condense even more onto that high ground. And I don't think we'll see full-out fights just yet. We'll see scraps as teams try to navigate this one, but things are starting to heat up.
I think we could see a scuffle on the south side here. If Enigma Galaxy and NB Esports both come into contact, it could be a really important position on the map as well. I wonder who's going to break for it first. The north side condenses further. Inco in a pretty decent spot. They regroup as 4. Nasa, they've been sneaking around the edges here, and finally they get cut back. Xenox will get knocked, will get flushed. And Nasa really haven't had a say in this match.
Not at all. They've just been trying to rotate their way in, and they're just getting caught one by one, little by little. And it's difficult. We said Miramar, one of the more difficult maps to rotate around on, very rotational focus. And you can see, if you don't get those rotations timed in well, you do not have a fighting chance whatsoever. Here on the west side, every ridgeline almost taken up, sightlines everywhere. North, east, southwest, you got to be careful. Peek your head up over the hill just a little bit too much, and you'll get knocked. STE finding a knock onto Inco. Now, STE are starting off this match very early on as a 3-man. Will we see that aggression, out of STE that we saw in the previous games with only 3?
Yeah, getting that knock up towards the north.
Oh,
and
they got the
flush
confirmation
as well. They get the flush, and that's going to force Intense Game to try and look for a crash. It kind of, I think, baits them into making a move that just isn't favorable. They aren't going to be able to make this one work. They might extract a value, a point or two, but in the long run, they just aren't going to get too much value here. Trying to push into Chumacera. You've now also got FaZe on the backstop, and SD have sort of forced this fight to happen in this way, just from playing on this position. Maybe not actively, but certainly just their presence there has sent these teams into the blender with one another. A lot of damage from a nade, but doesn't quite find the knock here. Magdalene is going to try and fall back just a little bit. Quite a lot of damage done to this Duxan position, which is really important for these teams on the north, because Duxan was a major factor.
Yeah, Duxan playing very split up here. Very slow to group up to get that revive. The DBS is good. This is two different teams they're fighting. As Nassar come in and chime here with a point. And yeah, Duxan just way too split up, I feel like, on this northern edge. They had 4 up on the defense, and now they're being cut down to 2.
SDE biding their time, still on the outside here. Wasn't too long ago we would have said they'd just go straight for this third party, but they're playing it a little bit slower. Now Xing may be starting to step forwards after hearing a bit of a cacophony start to pop off down towards Chumacera. Mormon for FaZe is giving Venturas a backstop as the rest of the team looking to continue this scrap. A northern shift goes up towards the teams on the northern side, giving them a little bit more time to play with, keeping a bit of Chumacera still in the mix.
Nongshim Red Force now has the Enigma Galaxy position, which is dead center zone. So Enigma Galaxy not getting blessed this time around. They will have to fight in north. A lot of teams on the south side will have to fight through that treacherous terrain. A lot of open ground, goalies, dips. Not too many hard cover, though. So we'll see who comes out on top on the south side. It will get messy. Inko in a great spot, though, on the west. Right there at the hard compounds.
Torres steps up for a spray. Binny back on inside, and there's the DPS popping up. Zipyan able to find a crucial knock to keep 3 of them alive, but they do not have a lot of time to play with here. Now 628 have established that perimeter. Xing on the high ground soon and flanks down to the west, cutting off their escape route here. But there's 3 players. They pick a direction, then you go all as one. Very easy to find a pick. Over towards STE, but if you give Sunan the opportunity, he's going to take the shots, but Zipiad is still on the swivel. It really heads up play, and Zipiad is so important for this hold, for this survival, coming through for Duxan.
Wow, what a turnaround right there. Just whiffed right onto his head. They're not going to be able to get the point confirmation, but the Blue Zone might just do it for them. Blue Zone is closing. They are going for that revive. Xing really needs to not get knocked. If he gets knocked, this defense is cracked wide open, firing a lot of suppressive fire. And another knock, actually. Onto 33Z. That's 2 members down. Everything is falling apart for STE.
Zipian has been brutal to STE on this northern side. Unfortunate turn of events there. Morph finding a similar result. But that is going to be actually taken down. I'm not too sure who found the final blow. Morph on the other side, 2 eliminations found, all trying to extricate themselves from one another. You've got 4 teams in this vicinity, Zute. Next, Ruya, close by, Yakta will get knocked. But in the meantime, Morph have more to worry about on the northern flank as Kanina Power have just extricated themselves from Udo Alliance and their scrap.
Kanina Power at the hard compound. Might time a third party. Most likely not. Those compounds feel too safe. The 2 teams on the outside, though, are getting into it. Next, Ruya and Morph. Good nade. That's an opening knock. Zed Wolf, another nade to follow up. Maybe going for the point confirmation. Get some damage in. And Molly thrown. Is next Ruya going to go aggressive? It's going to be a little bit hard for them because they're only working with 3 players. And they have an Hyper on their backsides with lines of sight onto the fight as well.
Moving the buggy, but eats a nade. A little bit of damage found there. Enigma Galaxy, they've taken a knock, and it's NB on the south side to look for this clash that has been brewing for a while. Enigma Galaxy didn't move forwards early enough to take control of this ground. They lose route for it, and now NB with the advantage, with that position already in this next zone. They've got a lot of control on the south side. A pretty important hill position as well. The south area on this zone certainly has a little bit of value. There's one more ridge beyond where NB sits that maybe you could push up to, but you can't do it just yet. And in fact, Inko might leapfrog it.
Yeah, Inko is just going to come in here on the west side with so much territory control. I do believe they're on the highest of the high grounds on the west, and with 4 players up, they could definitely maneuver teams how well they like. circle does center up. It shifts a little bit north. STE, the last player, Shing, I think he will go for that shot. Occurring pattern where they just lose a player here and there early on, too often, in my opinion.
That was a difficult scrap with NB. Now they're trying to play the central area against Shing, but he gets turned away. Okay, Coops doesn't want the trouble for that, and will fall away. I mean, Nongshim, Red Force right now in a pretty prime location. The compound that they hold on the northern side will have quite a decent bit of oversight. Maybe from that western edge, they could struggle just a little bit. It's going to be maybe tough to fend off the teams once they conclude Chumacera, but a lot of those teams in Chumacera have been cut down quite a lot. Hale are super split on this northern side, and they haven't got the foothold to launch themselves into a take of that compound.
Yeah, Hale, I think, just looking for some potential long-range third-party elimination steals from distance. And Hyper with 4, slowly, and once again, this is like the N Hyper that we're so used to seeing, just slowly, methodically working in towards the zone. No fast, sudden pushes or moves. And sometimes that does, come to bite them in the butt where that aggression is needed. This time, however, it looks like they can buy their time, work the terrain in their favor, which they are so good at doing.
Hyper shot so towards 7th Element. Both of these two positions are outside the zone, but Hyper have a position they can regroup on towards the north with Koi and GK First both on that forward area in the next zone. It looks like 7th Element instead going to turn their attention to NB, and right up to Sek goes, but looks like the spray won't even find any damage in response. He was more preoccupied with the backline, and Sek holds it out. 7th Element, they are losing players. They are down to 1. And it's going to be very unlikely that Divine can get much further here. There is no respite. There is no sanctuary out in the open. The barren grounds of Miramar will be his final resting place for this match. NB, they're going to close it down, and in similar fashion, next through eliminated.
Here comes Inko, though, the team that all the teams on the west side need to worry about. They're slowly starting to make their appearance. Oh, Onesin's going backwards in the buggy. He could have kept it going, maybe. But he does decide to hop out. Here's Hale, and they are getting the elimination points. They're very split up, like you mentioned, but they managed to find points here and there, up to 4 elimination points. Still working the very edge of the zone in a very comfortable spot. They might have to make a decisive play on the next circle shift, however, and with 4 players up, they can easily do that. And Hyper, wow, and Hyper on the south with a huge 2-2 split. Is that 2 players on the west and east side of the goalie of Hyper? It is.
They have gone really bold on this one. Right next to Morph with 4 players. Are they going to be able to hold this one off? I'm not too sure if they've got the power there. They've got Koi and GK First in that position, and Morph are going to back them off seemingly for the time being. But there's nades pouring through. Is that... It's still just them there. Looks like Freak may be able to get a third-party angle as the center shack gets contested and 1 out by Enigma Galaxy, so potential for them to get a little bit further against 628, who did hold that one before. Morph, in the meantime, still being held out. NB on the western side, 2 full 4 teams getting held out by each of the 2-2 splits right now for Hyper. Somehow, they haven't figured out that there's only 2 players in the way.
Yeah, and Hyper may not be an aggressive team, but the splits they hold is very aggressive. Holding out, like you mentioned, 2 full teams on their each respective own. But look, the sightlines are there to cover one another. If Morph come out over the top of Hyper, the 2 on the west side can cover, and vice versa. So Hyper just playing the positions very well, can easily change any second, though, if a nade hits them and, everything falls apart. But it works out for now. The zone did shift. They're going to have to group up on that west side. Enigma Galaxy was very proactive, too. They didn't have to move from that original shed, but they did send 2 over and take out the center position of STE.
They certainly did. This circle is pretty brutal, to be honest, for anybody who isn't Nongshim Red Force. Over on that northern side, there's a lot of open ground that we saw, that approach to the shack. Super open. This east side as well, really very minimal cover. I think a lot of teams are going to struggle here. If Hale can take this compound from Nongshim Red Force, that will be their lifeline on this northern side. The teams on the west, I think they're going to take care of each other at this point. Inko may be able to get through relatively unscathed, though, so that southwest side may be the second challenger to this compound.
I think Hale might actually just share that ridgeline with Nongshim. They are exposed on the east, but every team on the east is pretty much cut down here. They don't need to even worry about their exposed east side. FaZe running in the open. Surely Mormon gets caught here. Nongshim Red Force, no one looking this way, but then again, you don't expect a player to just run down the hill in the wide open. So he will get to safety in the zone, goes prone. Nongshim Red Force still with 0 elimination points. Very hard to find those confirmations from this position. It's a very safe spot, but doesn't give them a lot of opportunity to get the points. Here's Inko coming in with 4 now. This is the team we want to watch out for. In Hyper up to 7 eliminations already, by the way.
And they have regrouped. Libeti down first. A lovely place nade. Spray over the top to follow it up with the UMP, but it's challenged. It's backed off. Can they find the trade? Yes, they can. Squash is also down. 2 players down for either side now. It's both Koi and FS both falling on the front lines. Becker holding his own, and the back line's taken out as well. GK first leads Shifan high and dry. 2 players for Inko to deal with, and it is the heal looking to come through. Shifan launching utility forwards, looking to slow Inko down. The res crawls towards for the knocked player of Inko. It looks like Hyper want to bring 2 back into the fold as well. Both of these 2 teams taking care of one another. Leaving these hills was never really an option without going for this fight first. The shift is all the way up north. And Enigma Galaxy, are they going to be able to get it again? I'm not sure. But take a look at this, because Inko have just removed Hyper from the fray.
Yeah, and look at Free coming in to get a quick point, that third party. I love what Enigma Galaxy's doing here. Instead of sending all 3 into the zone, pretty much in a shack, which cuts down the utility of numbers, they're leaving Freak out there to pick up whatever points he can, get information, and just do damage on teams that may push them later on. So good job on Enigma Galaxy to not just have everyone in one shack and stay alive. Freak doing a good job on his own, getting damage here and there, putting out suppressive fire. It's going to be tough for him to make it into this next one, though, as I don't think he has a vehicle. Inko lost another member to Enigma Galaxy, so Inko down to just 2 players.
I feel like you've got to land a couple more of those shots, Freak. Unfortunately, with the Mini 14, he's even got the ATEX on board. He's just not quite landing them on the target that he's looking for. He's really suppressing Morph, sure, but the blue zone is pushing him out. He hasn't done enough damage to give him full safety, but he rolls on down the hillside nonetheless, as Inko are going to be eliminated in the meantime. They try and move further north, and they were shut out.
Yeah, shut out about Enigma Galaxy, actually. So the one finish from Freak on the south side does help out with that. It's just Coops here, along with his teammate Lord. Dead center zone. They could just kind of wear things out here, as everyone else is going to have to start fighting now. Nongshim Red Force still with 4, still with 0 elimination points. They're biding their time, and hopefully they'll pick up some points here. And we have to worry about Morph as well. Morph may not be in the best spot, but they have 4 players up.
Spotted Flash, just an ankle poked through, not quite safe behind the tires there. A really good forward pick. Hale's position on these ridge lines down from the Nongshim compound. Really, really solid. This ridge line, though, is about to run out of value for Morph. They're going to have to cross it and into the open ground that I was so condemnatory of before. The ridge, really their last bastion. The more value they can extract here, the higher their potential scoring in this match.
They do have a little bit of a crossing to make, but I think it's good. Hale losing that 1 player. I think Hale actually down to... they still have 3, but with 4 players up from Morph, if they just send 1 player over, they have multiple vehicles. The cover fire should be good, and it's not too big of a distance. They could get under that ridge line and then start suppressing them with nades and smokes. So Morph has a really good shot at taking up a lot more points here and potentially even winning the match, I'd say.
Said before this one, but STE were looking good to take that top spot. Unfortunately, they're already out. Enigma Galaxy are still going. They've got more limbs this match as well. So STE, maybe. Just a little bit. Stuxan gets the nade over onto Coops. I mean, they had the door side available to them. There's no way you can't put that nade through, really. As they close on in. Looking to jump in through the window. That's the first knock. That's the first flush. And they want more as they push in, but Zipian's cut through. It's Lord to stay alive for Enigma Galaxy. The challenge of 1, knows there's a reposition, doesn't have any nades, has a Molotov to jump. Binny, he's showing exactly where he is. Both of them know exactly what the other one is doing, exactly what the other one is thinking. But Lord is biding his time. No nade in front, Binny. Scare shots. But nothing more than that. Doesn't have a nade of his own either. Maybe looking to loot his teammate. Maybe blast the door off its hinges, but he's backed off the angle. He's going for it. A bit spoiled. Lord able to hold it down for Enigma Galaxy to go even deeper into this match. 5 eliminations from what we thought was a match in tatters for this roster. Now, the time to descend has come through from Nongshim Red Force.
Duxon with that 2v1 definitely messed it up, doing a fragmented push. Lord now in another 1v1. Tiger here giving Lord a challenge, and Lord just playing on points, winning 3 1v1s in a row, and Nongshim Red Force fighting with Morph. I was saying Morph could win this match if they could take this fight. One of them does go down. Nongshim Red Force down to just 2 players. They're taking out. Morph wins the fight on the east side, but who's still up? We have 3 color. Mormon is still alive, John, and he could potentially ruin things for Lord. Lord on a tear though. 1v3 scenario, yes. Can Lord pull off a miracle here?
7 eliminations right now for Enigma Galaxy. 3 more needed. A 10 elimination chicken dinner, but it is such a tall order. Although, look at the util for more. They are really bare right now. They are going to have to push up and maybe take this challenge fairly clean. As Cleon cooks that nade, the one and only in the back pocket. He steps up, takes damage. Close range as well, but the Grows are sure, but can you win out the challenge? 1 first aid still in Lord's back pocket. The side angle for Cleon. He's taking the challenge. He might have overexposed, but there's the push, and he's on the swivel. Lord is still on for more, but he's so low on HP. He steps out for the challenge, and it is just too much. It was close, and Lord fought for all he was worth, but in the end, it was Morph to be able to cross through, to crunch hail against the side of the compound and force their way on through. Down through the mountains they go, and a chicken dinner for Morph.
Very well done by Morph. The line was there. I called it earlier. They had 4 up on the east side. They just need to make that passing to the ridge side, which they did. They kept all the members up, lost 1 in the process, but that got them the chicken dinner at the end. Of course, though, Enigma Galaxy Lord took down a lot of the opposition on the west side, leaving just Nongshim to fight off against Morph. Morph won that one, and it was a great chicken dinner victory for the side of Morph. And I like how the desk actually even touched on them in the previous match. They've been doing really well today, and it goes to show they still got more, and they get the chicken.
They've managed to, they pushed up into 5th place, and after this match, I'm sure they're going to go a little bit higher, with STE not really having a performance late into that game. Duxan as well, I mean, they did have some impact on those Western Hills, that has to be said, but I don't think they managed to get the big bonanza of point scoring that maybe they were looking for here. Enigma Galaxy, though, I mean, to be able to extract that sort of value from that late of a game where they lost a player so early, they were playing a salvage game for quite a while. Really, really great stuff. They are definitely looking to lay claim to that top spot here in Group Red.
Yeah, Enigma Galaxy was just down to utilizing shack positions on the low ground, you know, for the more than half the game, I'd say, and they used it very well. Lord, of course, clutching it up, winning 4 1v1s in a row, because there was the 2 from Duxan, then the player from Hale pushed him, and then he caught the snake phase, Mormon, just snaking it all the way to the end game. Won that 1v1 as well. And that 1v3, I wouldn't say it got close, but it looked good the way he was playing.
Yeah, man, without the utility as well, maybe you didn't know, but Morph were basically dry there. It could have maybe gone another way if he'd have gotten a kill off, but it wasn't to be. Right at the end, Lord was snubbed, and it is Morph to take the chicken dinner.
What a game. Goodness gracious. That's how we're starting off in Miramar. I'm going to be happy. Enigma Galaxy Lord wins 4 1v1s in a row, 7.
Yeah, that was, I was not expecting it. I was hoping he would clutch it there at the end, but to be fair, Morph finally answered what I've been wondering out of them. What was happening with their placement points? Guess what? They decided to come back and be like, 7, we just got a chicken dinner. You can't pick on that. On that anymore from us. By the way, going back to this team, it is their last 3 matches where they have been able to perform really well. They've been able to get the elims, as I was mentioning earlier. First match, 16th place, 2 elims. Second match, 12th place, 6 elims. And in the past 3 matches, they've been within the top 5 and still being able to back it up with a lot of elims. So it's good to see for a team like this to get the chicken winner out of the way right away.
Yeah, 20 total points. That's what I'm talking about, Cameron.
I mean, 10 elims, that's never an easy thing to do, especially in a valley finish like that where it's so wide open, very similar to what we saw with the final Erangel round, just that wide open hillside space. So for Morph to get to the end game with that many people alive, especially with all the different snakes just crawling around in the grass, Lord, the king of all snakes, but still a bunch of other souls that they had to deal with there. It was very hard fought, and so they deserved every single elimination that they got.
100%. Now, one team that needed some eliminations, got 3 here, but 5 placement points, 8 total points is FaZe, Cameron, right? How you feeling about them?
I mean, I'm feeling okay. It was definitely a good salvage round by Moorman, specifically. The solo player could get basically all those points, but that's not going to be a round that's going to make me super confident that this is going to continue to be a climb out. I'm going to have to see what this final Miramar looks like to have any confidence going into, I mean, there's going to be a little bit of confidence because it is still FaZe that we're talking about, but a round like that is not going to be one that's really big momentum building. It's going to be backwards momentum stopping, perhaps, but now what can they do when they have some points on the board, that they have a little bit of more confidence?
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Looking at another team, though, that's, I don't know how I'm feeling about them now. Brazil 7, right? Intense game all the way at the bottom.
Hold on, before we even go into that, let's just appreciate Morph with that win, being able to jump up there to 3rd place, also in Hyper. Now in Hyper, so I'm going to pose the question to you. Where are your placement points? Because you've been able to put up those eliminations, but we really haven't been able to see those placement points. And I'm actually surprised that they've been able to put up the amount of eliminations that they have, considering at the beginning of the show, I was talking about how Kindness was one of their main fraggers who was going to be able to step up for them. FS, I've been seeing him do some work, and I'm happy to see that. And now going back to what you were saying, Jukes, in regards to IG, They didn't do what I wanted them to do here in Miramar, and right now with how some of the teams at the top are currently performing, that might be it for them in regards to them making it all the way to the grand finals, right, from this group. I feel like they can probably get up there within the top 11, though.
Crazy. I mean, there's still 3 more days, so anything can happen, but I'm still so shocked to see them struggling so much, I'm glad to see that at least in their Brazilian brothers, Inco finally put some points on the board here, Cameron.
Yeah, they're still sort of in that middling mix right now. I think they're sitting at 8th place. The head-to-head that we saw against Hyper was definitely well fought there on Miramar, but I don't know. They're in the middle of that pack, 25 points. If you go down the line, 11th place, which is where that cutoff is that you want to stay there or above, is only 20. So, they're probably going to sit comfortably in the mix. And they're not as bad as IG, but this is still a bit of a slight letdown, I have to say, from expectations after we saw what they were able to do in the Americas Championship.
I wonder why. We keep constantly seeing Inco, Intense Game, and then Hyper get into it. We talked about, at least one team that was, the kryptonite of good old 628, but who is the kryptonite between each other? Is it Brazil or in Hyper 7?
Ooh, I don't know. I have no idea.
Everyone's
By the way,
no one's good.
Yeah, in regards to the kryptonite,
right?
In regards to the kryptonite was FaZe Clan. Was 628 was that kryptonite for FaZe Clan. Luckily for FaZe Clan, I don't think they ran into each other because 628 got eliminated early on. So maybe that's what FaZe Clan.
The storyline continues.
The last Miramar.
Unbelievable. Well, we got the final Miramar coming up, right?
Yeah.
So we did see Morph get a nice game. We are seeing a lot of southern circles here. I think that's benefiting quite a the squads that are going and going down to that southern position. But do you think at this point in time, right, those teams at the bottom, Cameron, right?
Yeah.
Do you think obviously they want to put some points on the board for tomorrow. Do you think they're just going to play it tried and true, or do you think they're going to mix things up here in the last game?
Oh man, it's the final game of the day. I think you kind of want to mix it up a little bit. You don't want to just completely change your game plan, but at this point, I think your players, you got to have confidence to do this, so it's significantly easier said than done. But this is where you want to just let go of that leash, and if you see a play, just try and take it and build off of that.
Well, let's see. Yeah, Konina Power, come on, right? Where are you at? I missed the old Konina Power of old. Hopefully we can see it happen here as we take it on over to our casters for the final.